अदौ भगवता यथा
अदौ भगवता यथा
क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन
क्रमयोगफलप्रेण
ब्रह्मणा यद् असंसृति.
ब्रह्मणा यद् अशान्तिः.
So I'll repeat one more time. Shri Parikshit Uvacha
श्रीवाच
Nivriti Marga Kathita
निवृत्तिमार्गकथिता
Adau Bhagavata Yatha
अदौ यथा
Krama Yogopalabdhena
कर्मयोगोपलब्धेन
Brahmana Yad Asamsriti.
ब्रह्मणायद् असंश्रुति.
Does anybody want to repeat it?
श्री परीक्षित उवाच
निवृत्तिमार्गकथिता
निवृत्तिमार्ग कथित
आदौ भगवता यथा
अदौ भगवत यथा
कर्मयोगलब्धेन
कर्मयोगलब्धेन
ब्राह्मणायद् असंश्रुति.
ब्रह्मणा संश्रुति.
संश्रुति.
श्री परीक्षित उवाच
श्रीपरीक्षितुवाच
निवृत्तिमार्ग कथित
निवृत्तिमार्गः कथिता
अदौ भागवत यथा
आदौ भगवत यथा
क्रमयोगापलब्धेन
क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन
ब्राह्मणा यत् असंवृत
ब्रह्मणा यद् असंश्रिता. श्रीपरीक्षितुवाच
श्री परीक्षित उवाच
निवृत्तिमार्गकथिता
निवृत्तिमार्ग कथित
आदौ भगवता यथा
आदौ भागवत यथा
क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन
क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन
ब्रह्मणा यदसंश्रिता
ब्राह्मणा यदसंश्रित.
So we'll go through the word by word translation now. You can repeat after me. Shri Parikshit Uvacha.
Uvacha.
Maharaj Parikshit said,
Maharaj Parikshit said,
Nivriti Margaha,
Nivritti Marga,
the path of liberation.
the path of liberation.
Kathita,
Katita,
prescribed.
described.
Adau,
Adau,
in the beginning.
in the beginning.
Bhagavata,
Bhagavata,
by your holiness.
by your holiness.
Yatha,
Yatha,
duly.
duly.
Krama,
Krama,
gradually.
gradually.
Yoga Upalabdhena,
Yoga Upalabdhena,
obtained by the yoga process.
obtained by the yoga process.
Brahmana,
Brahmana,
along with Lord Brahma after
along
Brahmaloka.
with Lord Brahma after reaching Brahmaloka.
Yat,
Yet,
by which way?
by which way?
Asamsriti,
Asamshriti,
cessation of the repetition of birth and death.
cessation of the repetition of birth and death.
Translation. Parikshit said, O my Lord, O Sukadev Goswami, you have already prescribed in the second canto the path of liberation, Nivriti Marg. By following that path, one is certainly elevated gradually to the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka, from which one is promoted to the spiritual world along with Lord Brahma. Thus, one's repetition of birth and death in the material world ceases. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Since Maharaj Parikshit was a Vaishnava, when he heard the description at the end of the 5th canto of the different hellish conditions of life, he was very much concerned with how to liberate the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya and take them back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, he reminded his spiritual master, Sukadev Goswami, about the Nivriti Marg or path of liberation, which he had described in the second canto. Maharaj Parikshit, who at the time of death was fortunate to have met Sukadev Goswami, inquired from Sukadev Goswami about the path of liberation at that crucial time. Sukadev Goswami very much appreciated his question and congratulated him by saying, Pariyan esa te prashna krato loka hitam nrpa atmavet samataha pumsam sroto vyadishu ya paraha. My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial for all kinds of people. Answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. Parikshit Maharaj was astonished that the living entities in the conditional stage do not accept the path of liberation, devotional service, instead of suffering in so many hellish conditions. This is the symptom of a Vaishnava. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhaye vacha. A Vaishnava is an ocean of mercy. Para dukha dukhi. He is unhappy because of the unhappiness of others. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj, being compassionate towards the conditioned souls suffering in hellish life, suggested that Sukadev Goswami continue describing the path of liberation, which he had explained in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. The word asamsriti is very important in this connection. Samsriti refers to the continuing on the path of birth and death. Asamsriti, on the contrary, refers to Nivriti Marg, or the path of liberation, by which one's birth and death cease and one gradually progresses to Brahmaloka. Unless one is a pure devotee who does not care about going to the higher planetary systems, in which case one immediately returns home back to Godhead by executing devotional service. Tvaktva deham punar janma neti. Parikshit Maharaj therefore was very eager to hear from Sukadev Goswami about the path of liberation for the conditioned soul. According to the opinion of the Acharyas, the word Krama Yogopalabdena indicates that by first performing Karma Yoga and then Jnana Yoga and finally coming to the platform of Bhakti Yoga, one can be liberated. Bhakti Yoga, however, is so powerful that it does not depend on Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga. Bhakti Yoga itself is so powerful that even an impious man with no assets in Karma Yoga or an illiterate with no assets in Jnana Yoga can undoubtedly be elevated to the spiritual world if he simply adheres to Bhakti Yoga. Mam evasya asam saya. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 8.7 that by the process of Bhakti Yoga, one undoubtedly goes back to Godhead, back home to the spiritual world. Yogis, however, instead of going directly to the spiritual world, sometimes want to see other planetary systems, and therefore they ascend to the planetary system where Lord Brahma lives, as indicated here by the word Brahmana. At the time of dissolution, Lord Brahma, along with all the inhabitants of Brahmaloka, goes directly to the spiritual world. This is confirmed in the Vedas as follows. Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte pratisanchare parasayanti kratatmanaha pravisanti parampadam. Because of their exalted position, those who are on Brahmaloka at the time of dissolution go directly back home, back to Godhead, along with Lord Brahma. Put the verse back on, so we'll go through the invocation prayers and then we'll start discussion on the verse. Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So I'll go through the other prayers, and if you want to repeat, you can repeat, but I won't wait for the repetition. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa
Kadamayam
Dadati
Dadati
Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Sorry, I missed a step. So I'll start again. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Tam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam
Dadati
Dantikam
Swapadantikam.
Vandeham Shri
Guru
Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha
Vaishnavamscha
Shri Rupa
Sagrajatam
Sahagana Raghunatam
Gunatranvitam
Tam
Sutam
Sajivam
Sajivam
Sadvetam
Sadvetam
Savadutam
Sadvetam
Parijana Sahitam
Sahitam
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Devam
Devam
Shri Radha Krishna
Krishna
Padan
Sadhan
Sahagana
Sagana
Lalita Shri
Dvaita Vishakan
Vishakam
Namsha
He Krishna
Krishna
Karuna Sindhu
Sindo
Dinabandhu
Dinabandhu Jagatpate
Jagatpate Gopesha
Gopesha
Gopika
Gopika
Kanta
Kanta
Radha
Radha
Kanta
Kanta Namostute
Namostute Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishbhanu
Vishvano
Sute
Sute
Devi Pranamami Hari
Hari
Priye Vancha
Vancha
Kalpa Tarubhyascha
Sarvasya
Kripa
Kripa
Sindhu
Sindhubhyevacha
Vacha Patitanam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Namah.
Namaha
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita
Advaita
Gadadhara
Gadadhara
Shivasadi Gaur
Shivasadi Gaur
Bhaktavrinda
Bhaktavrinda
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottadam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Shranvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Prade Antasthohe Abhadrani Ati Suharat Satam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtiki Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Rama Hare
Rama
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 Rama Hare
Rama Hare
Hare
Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki. So I'll share my screen, the other slide.
What verse did you do?
Canto 6, chapter 1, verse 1. Give me 1 second while I get organized here. Share my screen fully. So are you able to see my screen? I'm sharing a slide now.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So welcome everyone again. This is my first class of Srimad Bhagavatam. Not that I've given many classes, but I've given few on Bhagavad Gita before, but this is my first class on Srimad Bhagavatam. So I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas so that I'm able to repeat what our Acharyas and Guru Parampara have repeated, on this verse. So as I mentioned, we're reading Canto 6, chapter 1, text 1. Canto 6 is titled Prescribed Duty of Mankind, and the key subject matter addressed in Canto 6 is basically Poshana, which means protection by the Lord. Now, we might think like when we say protection by the Lord, it's the protection of the spiritual protection and not the material protection. Like when I looked at the Canto 6 and I looked at some of the, the chapters in there, there were like 3 or 4 chapters about curse, and then another 3 or 4 chapters about, how Lord saved devotees from the curse. So I was thinking like the title of the canto is Prescribed Duties of Mankind. And here we have like few chapters on curses and how devotees kind of came out of that. So I was thinking that cannot be the duties of mankind. But the key point is those chapters in Canto 6 are basically examples of how Lord take care of his devotees. So as we said, Poshana, which means protection on the path of spiritual realization. So protection of the devotees who are on that path, and how Lord kind of ensures that they stick to the path and progress on it. So along the same lines, in the verse that we read, Parikshit Maharaj is basically sharing his heart to Sukadev Goswami. Now, Sukadev Goswami has just in Canto 5 described the hellish planets and all kind of punishments that conditioned souls may go through based on their karma. So he describes all the planets and the different punishments that he goes through. Now, listening all that description, it's like a very horrifying description, right? So if any one of us see a horror movie or see a very horrifying description or hear anything, the first thing that would come to our mind is, oh, I'm so happy that it's not me, right? So it'll come to our mind that I'm so glad that it's not happening to me. Or the other question that might come to our mind is, I'm so glad that it's not happening to any one of my, family members or people that I'm very close to. But when Parikshit Maharaj heard those descriptions, those horrifying descriptions of hellish planets from Sukadev Goswami, what crossed his mind was, what about all the conditioned souls? So the first thing that he worried about is, what is going to happen to all the conditioned souls who are, who might have to suffer in these hellish planets, and how are they going to be ever able to come out of it? Now, as we all know, the context, Parikshit Maharaj was, because of the, because of the curse he received, that he'll die in 7 days. So Parikshit Maharaj has, 7 days and 7 nights. So instead of being worrying about him, when he hears the description of the hellish planet, the first thing that comes to his mind is worrying about all the conditioned soul. So that is, an attribute of a pure Vaishnava. Vaishnava is one. So one of the quality is a Vaishnava is sad when he sees other people sad, right? So misery of other people makes a Vaishnava sad. So if we meditate back on the verse and the purport, Prabhupada is explaining, there is a Pravriti Marg and there is a Nivriti Marg. So Nivriti Marg is what is mentioned in the verse. And then there is, answer of how we can get from Pravriti Marg to Nivriti Marg. So what I thought we could focus on in our discussion today is, what is a Pravriti Marg and what is a Nivriti Marg and how do we get there? So Sukadev Goswami answers Parikshit Maharaj as to how conditioned soul can get on the path of Nivritti Marg, which is through devotional service. And also along the way, we'll touch upon the role of a devotee compassion. So I just described how Parikshit Maharaj was full of compassion when he asked to Sukadev Goswami how conditioned souls can be saved from hellish planets, which is an exhibition of the Vaishnava compassion. So we'll look at the role of a compassion in a journey from Pravritti Marg to Nivritti Marg. Any questions thus far before we start? Okay. So Pravritti Marg. Prabhupada in chapter 1, text 2 of Canto 6 describe very nicely, which is all living entities are rotating throughout the universe, going sometimes up to the higher planetary systems and sometimes down to the lower planets. This is the material disease, which is known as Pravritti Marg. So when I read the verse and before reading the purport, even I said Pravritti Marg, the name sounds or feels like it's got to be something good. And why is that? Because I thought progress, like Pravritti and progress kind of go together. So Pravritti Marg's got to be a good thing. Before I read the purport by Prabhupada, which says, it is a material disease. So this is another short example of ignorance versus knowledge, right? So without having the right knowledge from the right source, which is a realized person or a Vaishnava, our knowledge just on our understanding, our experience is very limited and very often wrong or just the opposite, as the example I just gave you. But back to the Pravritti Marg, Prabhupada explains that Pravritti Marg is advancement in sense gratification. So in other words, the whole material life, the concept of material life is centered around sense gratification. Right? So if we see the world around us, most of the people that we come across or see around, except those who have taken the path of Krishna consciousness, we can say that they are on the path of on the Pravritti Marg, which is sense gratification. Now the material life is centered around sense gratification. So, and Prabhupada explains that, the material life or the material world includes different planets. So the planet Earth is part of it, and it's also the lower planets, like the hellish planets, and also the superior or the heavenly planets. So from lower planets to Brahma Loka are all part of the material world. And sense gratification is a basis of all of them. It's just the means might be different. And Prabhupada gives an example, like one of the basic activity we do is eating. And here, somebody might be eating on a plate, or somebody might be eating on a paper plate and things like that. But it's again eating, which is, a basic activity. But in other planets, if you go to heavenly planets, you might be eating on a golden ball. Or he says on a Brahma Loka, you might be eating in a pot made up of diamond. But the basic concept is the same. The sense gratification is the basis of all material life. So in all these planets, the sense gratification is going on. If you also see, Prabhupada explains that, all living entities are rotating throughout the universe, which means like Pravritti Marg is not like a straight road kind of thing. It's more of a loop, right? So we might, as conditioned souls, we might go up sometimes and down sometimes. Up is higher heavenly planets, and down could be lower hellish planets. And what is the basis of going up and down? The basis is the karmic reactions. So based on the work or our karma, the reactions of those karma makes us from, go into different planets. And there's a good description in the text too, which I want to read, and I'll read in between of the purport. So it says, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. And it explains, according to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary system, and some are going down into the lower planetary system. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining that it's the karma and the karmic reactions because of which, conditioned souls stay in this material world and, could change their position from lower planets to heavenly planets. So Prabhupada also explains, because this is a material world, right? So another attribute of a material world is what are the key problems in the material world. And Prabhupada explains the key problems are birth, death, old age, and disease. So it doesn't matter whether you are in hellish planet or you are in Brahma Loka, you are still, a conditioned soul is still not free from these basic problems: birth, death, old age, and disease. Just the time duration could be different. Right? The life on Brahma Loka is more than life here, and death in hellish planet could be more horrifying than death here. But basically, in any of the material world, none of the conditioned soul is free from these four problems. And Prabhupada also explains the other, attribute of this is, so we talked about it's the sense gratification. And Prabhupada explains that, our normal position, so we are conditioned souls, but the normal position or the eternal position of a soul is of service. But when that soul becomes conditioned, that position of service is also, it becomes a service to the sense gratification. So the original position is service to the Lord, but when we get in touch with the material world, it gets polluted. So our original, pure position of service now becomes a service of sense gratification. So in other words, we, by nature, we are still servants. So we continue to do that work, but we change our focus, which means now we are trying to serve our senses instead of the Supreme Lord. And he talks about the key, attributes of the senses is like, it's the lusty desires, krodha, lobha, maya, illusion. So he talks about that and explains that. So any questions so far?
Yeah, I have a question. You said as we are rotating throughout the universe, so obviously if you're going to the spiritual world, the Vishnu Dutas come to get you. So if you're going to like any of the higher planets, Is it still Yamadutas who come to take the soul?
If you're going,
Like I hear, yesterday I was reading in the Bhagavatam that, like Maharloka is, where great sages live, like Sage Braghu and, some of the great sages. And of course, higher than that is Brahmaloka. So if you are like going to Maharloka or something, I mean, is it Vishnudutas or Yamadutas who take you there? I
yeah,
was confused about that.
it's a very good question. I haven't read, but I can share my thoughts. But before I do that, let me ask Pyare Prabhu and Jiva Mataji if they have thoughts around this one. Pyare Prabhu, do you have any comments on this? Like, who comes to take the soul if a soul is going to higher heavenly planets?
Uber.
No wonder they make more money. So my guess would be, Mataji, if a soul is going to the higher planets, I don't know why Yamdutas would come. Like if you look at the picture in the
I don't see
next
the.
canto, they're horrifying figures.
Right.
I don't
Right?
see.
You're going to a Brahma Loka or you're going to another heavenly planet, the ride cannot be as bad as like Yamduta.
I think you're right. I mean, I'm trying to answer my own question here because in the Bhagavatam it says that they go of their own accord, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? By their own yogic power, they're getting there. So that might be true, but I'm going to let Pyari comment on that.
It can't be the Yamadutas or the Vishnu Dutas. The Vishnu Dutas aren't going to help you to come to just another material place.
Right.
It's just automatic.
I think it's of your own accord and your own yogic power. I think from the Bhagavatam explanation itself. I was just thinking about that. Sorry. I mean, it's just a curious question. Thanks.
But it was a good question. Any other questions before we
I just
proceed?
want to make a comment on this. So actually, if we read Mahabharata and other scriptures, there is an indication given over there about this. So what is mentioned is like the people who do average karma, like people like us, like neither very good karmas nor very bad karmas. So they rise to the Pitra Lokas first, and from the Pitra Lokas, when they receive more pious credits, but either through their descendants, their descendants may do certain things like we do Pitra. What is that? We do some ceremony, right, for the ancestors. I'm missing the name of that. What?
Shraddha.
Etc.
Shraddha.
So through those
Pitrutarpana.
through those credits, they rise to the higher planetary systems. Like in the Mahabharata, there is this description that Maharaj Pandu actually sends a message through Narad Muni to Yudhishthir that I am in the Pitraloka, and if you can do this Rajasuya Yagya, then through the credits of those Yagya, I can rise to the heavenly planets. And that was one reason Yudhishthir Maharaj wanted to do the Rajasuya Yagya. So there are some indications mentioned over there. So, and then again, in the 5th canto itself, when Yamraj is instructing the Yamdutas, at that time he says that do not bring any persons to me who have at least once chanted the name of Lord Hari. So only bring those people who have not even once chanted the name of Lord Hari. So those kind of things also give some kind of indications that only the very sinful, grossly sinful people go to, like, Yamdutas come to take those persons actually.
Thank you. Sounds like there's some hope for us, Ganpati Govind.
Offenseless chanting. Once.
I don't know about
We'll say
offenseless
once.
chanting, but at least once, yeah, maybe.
Okay, so any other questions or comments?
Bro, I had one quick question. So you
Yes,
were talking about this the same verse that Mataji referenced, Brahman Brahmite. What is that verse? I'm missing the verse. But basically it says that a fortunate soul basically gets the Bhakti Lata Creeper. So, I mean, is it just like some kind of a lottery that someone becomes fortunate, or is there like is there something that the person does to become qualified? Because if it's just a lottery, then it sounds very you don't really can do anything to become qualified. It's just that like a H1B lottery when you have to get
Yeah.
them and
So yeah, so this question has come up in one of other class that we had in Glastonbury Temple. So I'll share my thought. Like, it cannot be a lottery. And the other thought is, we won't be even able to decipher the algorithm that goes behind it, right? But it does say, Prabhupada in one of his lecture explained that, we take millions and millions of birth, and then, by Krishna's mercy, or one who is in knowledge will get a chance to take up bhakti. So there might be a couple of factors there, Prabhu. So one, by the virtue of your karmic reactions and pious credits, you might get a chance, or you might get a chance, just by by Krishna's mercy. So those are my thoughts. But yeah, the question is,
Can I say
what is
something?
it? What's yes?
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada, actually, it's more than the Krishna's mercy. It's also compassion of devotees that you get a chance to, and in fact, I think Prabhupada and one of the devotees was walking in England somewhere in a park, and there was a homeless person, sleeping on a bench, and the devotee asked Prabhupada, what is his good fortune? And Prabhupada pointed a stick to him and he said, you are his good fortune, So it's devotees, like even when you go for book distribution or go for, spreading the holy name in any way, shape, or form, actually that is how we are spreading the good fortune to everyone.
Yeah, I agree. So it is said, by Krishna's mercy, you get the spiritual master, and by spiritual master's mercy, you get the Krishna.
Mhm.
Like, but what comes first? And I'm saying, like, it could be both ways. It could happen. So I don't know if I answered your question correctly, but Ganpati Prabhu.
yeah, I think bro, that is good answer. Yeah, thank you Mataji for the answer also.
Okay, so I'll move on. So another key point I wanted to share around the Pravriti Marg is highlighted in this verse that Prabhupada quoted, which is Ahara Nidra Bhaya Methunam Cha Samanyam Etat Pashubhir Naranam Dharmo hi tesam adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pasubhi samana. The purport is, both animals and men share the activities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But the special property of the humans is that they are able to engage in spiritual life. Therefore, without spiritual life, humans are on the level of animals. So Prabhupada, in his purport for the text 1 of chapter 1, Canto 6, takes this opportunity to explain the concept of how every one of us is engaged in these 4 basic activities: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And he says these are fact, these activities are fact, like you can't avoid having these activities. But he stresses that these activities are not the primary purpose of us who are in this human form of life. And he stresses that this human form of life is a blessing. He mentions like jago jiva jago, like he stresses on that, means wake up, and realize that what you have here is a very important and very a precious gift. So do not waste that gift in just performing these 4 activities at a very basic level. And he stresses that the key question to ask is, like, so we should use our curiosity to question and to understand who we are, why we are here, and since we are here, what is our role or what we should engage in doing, and what is our next destination. Like another attribute of the material life is you feel like, the picture ends at death, right? All the conditioned soul, retirement industry is a very big industry in US, and people, as soon as they start earning, even in school or just after school, they start thinking about retirement. They start saving about retirement. You ask anybody, everybody have a plan for their retirement. But what happens after the retirement? So just like they are so cautious and so aware about retirement. How am I going to live through the retirement? Am I going to have enough assets in my retirement? All those questions similarly should be asked for after death experiences. So where am I going to go after death? Do I have enough credits that's going to take me after death? Am I doing things now that I need to do so that my next life, could be secured? It's the same concept, but you see how here the mentality gets polluted. The foundational concepts are the same, right? So as a spirit soul, as a realized soul, we would be questioning our extension, or we would be questioning our journey after death. But because everything is polluted, everything is clouded against sense gratification in material world, we do the same to question our journey until death. And that's what basically Prabhupada stresses, that, this is called ignorance. Ignorance means we are not even aware of our constitutional position, which is we are the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and our eternal position is service. Because we don't know that position, we are not aware of it, we are in ignorance. And what is the knowledge of ignorance? I am my senses, so I should maximize. My objective is to maximize sense gratification. And this is, if you look at a normal person, I mean, people are nice and people are bad, but they are on, they are in this Pravriti Marg in their own ways, right? So we cannot say everybody is bad, but foundationally, people are, the ignorance is mass spread in this material world. And it basically is also a driving force that keeps us working again to maximize our the sense gratification. Any questions on this point?
I just wanted to ask about this Hitopdesha. What exactly is Hitopdesha? I've heard about it, but didn't quite understood what is Hitopdesha. In which scripture it is part of?
Yeah, I didn't check that, Prabhu. Prabhupada quoted the first line in one of his lectures, so I went to the there's a website out there that lists most quoted by Prabhupada, and that gave me the full description of it. But I didn't check into the background, the context of Hitopdesha.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Does it make sense? Does it hit anybody, this point? I mean, I'll share my personal experience. I've heard this before, right? But I still feel it doesn't hit to the extent that it should hit us inside.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This verse is from which? Is it from Bhagavad Gita?
No, Mataji, the verse that I'm showing now is from Hitopadesha, but I don't know the, I don't know any more context.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So anybody else want to share their realization around this point? I was surprised how much Prabhupada stressed on this. It was a 1-hour lecture on this point from different angles. Like he addressed it from different angles, and every time you hear about it, it goes a little deep in the heart. But I still feel like, I've heard this a lot of times before, and every time it feels like that arrow just touches the outer body and falls down. It doesn't go deep in the heart, the realization of it. But if anybody has any comments or questions to share around that, they can do so. Okay, I'll move to the next one. So as I was reading the text, and it explained the condition of the situation of the conditioned souls, and I was thinking like some of the situations that I have been, and those situations kind of explains or bring to light the plight of conditioned souls, like how much, like it shows the influence of ignorance and the application of it and the implication of it. So I thought I'll share some of those instances. So for one of the first instances, I'm a Brahmin. So actually this should be in quotes. So it so happened last year, we have a family that lives near us. They work, in my office, and both I and Amrita Kelly, my wife, work in the same place. So they both, husband and wife, also work in the same place. So all four of us work in the same company. Now they are not in Krishna consciousness and things like that, but they are nice people, right? So very respectful, nice people. And they've been inviting us to come to their home, and every time it just would not work. It was sometimes we avoided a little bit, and other times it didn't work out. So last year they had a Diwali party organized at their home. So they invited us, and they said, "You live so near to our home." Actually, they live very near to our home in Farmington also. So say, "You live so near, what is the problem? Why are you not able to come?" And we said, "Okay, let's go there," and so that, because they were feeling bad. And actually it so happened, like if you are on a devotional path, it so happened, could be a coincidence or whatever, that the devotional and spiritual path collide a lot, where you will be forced to make a choice. So it so happened that that day there was a temple program, and there was the party time was also the same. So we said, okay, we'll go there for 15 minutes and then we'll leave quickly and we go to the temple program. So we went to the party, and we have never been exposed, like I and my wife have been, but our kids have never been exposed to that kind of an atmosphere. So we went there, and there were people inside, and it's a normal kind of a scenario where people are drinking. So I joined a group. There were a couple of people, Prabhuji group over there. So I joined, tried to mingle. I had nobody to talk to, so I mingled. So there was a person in that group. He had a cigarette in one hand and a wine glass in the other. And the talk started, and I asked, "So what's your name? Where are you from?" And he told me his name. And then I said, no, then he asked my name, and I told my name, and he said, "So you are Punjabi?" I said, "Yes, I'm a Punjabi." And then I asked, "And you?" And he said, "I'm a Brahmin." And when he said that I'm a Brahmin, he was feeling kind of proud about it. So my point being, here's a situation. He's got a cigarette in one hand and a wine glass in the other hand, and he's a Brahmin by caste, and I said, like, I was questioning in my own head, like, why is that? Like, why does it have to be like this? And the more, even more depressing was, there was no realization of it also in that person's heart. Like, what is it that he's doing right now? So my point is, that's the condition, like it shows the condition of a condition, like the situation of a conditioned soul. In the lack of proper knowledge or in ignorance, these actions that we do seems okay and appropriate, whereas they could be so wrong. So I'll go to the next point, which is Sharma eating meat. So this is an example.
So obviously there was an Indian couple, I would think, right?
Yes, yes, it was an Indian couple.
Okay.
It was an Indian couple, yes.
I think this is a good realization of why we on this planet don't have forearms.
Yes. Okay, I'll do the next one. Sharma eating meat. So now this is a case when, last time I went to India, and which is like more than 7-8 years now. Actually, it was the time of Navratri, which is, Sheravali Mata. And so 9 days that everybody is like, people fast and they abstain from alcohol or meat. So I went to one of my very old friend, my childhood friend. And there I went. So I went to the terrace of his house. And there he was with another my childhood friend, and his last name was Sharma. Now, if you know Sharma, he was also a Brahmin by caste. And now I remember, or I understand, he used to wear the Brahminical thread by birth. And I didn't understand at that time, but I understand now. So I went to the terrace and I saw that they both were eating meat. And I told Sharma, like, why are you eating meat? Like, you, even on Navaratri. And he said, yeah, it's all right. It's all fine. So then the day ended, and after 2-3 days, I called him again and I said, how are you doing? And he said, I'm sick. I'm very sick. And he told me that he became sick that night itself when he was eating meat. And then he said, it's all because of you. You jinxed, you jinxed my consumption of meat because you made that comment. Now, I'm facing this repercussion. But again, like now, the point here is an action like that doesn't feel bad. Like he wasn't apologetic on the action, but he was blaming that I made a point that because of that he got sick. So the action wasn't bad, but the sense gratification was interfered because I made that point. But the point is, like, the knowledge or the understanding is so distorted that, it almost seems like, but, a piteous situation. But, I laugh now as I think about it. He's still my friend. I've not been to India for a long time, but he's still my friend. I'll move to the next one, which is actually about me. Resist to accept Krishna's position. Now, I wasn't in Krishna consciousness when I got married. So once we get married, we went for a camping with another couple, which was a devotee couple. So my wife was a devotee at that time, by that time, and the family we went with were also a devotee couple. Now, as normally a devotee, he started preaching me. And I felt like I'm cornered. Like he kept bombarding and bombarding and bombarding. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I was resisting. And my point was, yeah, I agree. There is somebody out there, but I don't know if it is Krishna. Like in my own head, I was thinking, hey, why should I give that position to Krishna? I went to the temple. Krishna was there with so many gods. So how do I know it's Krishna? And I kept resisting Krishna's position, and he kept bombarding me. But the point here is, if you tell about Krishna, we come across this situation a lot. Like there's a lot of resistance to accept the Krishna's position or the real knowledge, which is again a manifestation of the ignorance and the cycle of sense gratification that we have. We somehow feel if I accept this, my cycle, my good situation right now, or my arrangement right now of sense gratification is going to get disturbed. And we face that, we see that again when we hear instances where parents don't support their kids taking up Krishna consciousness because parents think the same way. Parents think there is a cycle, right? You study, you earn, you get married, have kids, and then they grow up. So it's kind of a cycle of a karmic fruitive activities, which will get broken if you take up Krishna consciousness. So there is always kind of a resistance. to accept Krishna's position. The last one is like a drinking is a happy hour. Now, all, for us that who work in a corporate world, we've heard this concept of happy hour, and it's generally on Thursday or Friday where all the people who work together go out in a bar and they drink and they call it a happy hour. And last time I was asked about, hey, do you want to join a happy hour? I said, no, I'm happy. I don't need a happy hour. I have a lot of happy hours since morning. But my point is, here's an example of how like they've been working hard, which is another attribute of the conditioned soul in the material life, working hard to earn money, where the enjoyment for them is getting wasted by drinking. And when they go and drink, they're first getting wasted, spending money to waste themselves, and then talking all the topics that they choose to talk in there are all like prajalpa in one way or the other. So, these are the four kind of cases that came to my mind as I was thinking, as I was trying to picturize Pravritti Marg in my own head. And when Prabhupada explains this is a cycle and is a disease, I thought these examples will put some light on that and bring and visualize it. So any questions before we move on? Or we almost
Just a comment. These are excellent realizations, Anand Gauranga. Very nice.
yeah. So I know it's 8:59. I'll rush through. I have some more points. I'll rush through those, and then we'll if you have.
I'd like to just add something about the Pravritti Marg.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Path of sense enjoyment, but it's the actual process of Pravritti Marg is for making spiritual advancement. There's a difference. I'm going to read something from a purport. Srimad Bhagavatam 4:25-39 says, according to Vedic instructions, there are two paths for human activities. One is called Pravritti Marg, and the other is called Nivriti Marg. The basic principle for either of these paths is religious life. In animal life, there is only Pravritti Marg. Pravritti Marg maintains that even though one has the propensity for sense gratification, he can gratify his senses according let's see, I just went up a little bit in my computer here. He can gratify his senses. Oh man, where did I go?
According, you said.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Prabhu, I was also having the same question. So
According to, he can gratify his senses. This is the path of Pravritti Marg, the one you're talking about. He can gratify his senses according to the directions of the Vedic injunctions. For example, everyone has the propensity for sex life, but in demoniac civilization, sex is enjoyed without restrictions. According to Vedic culture, sex is enjoyed under Vedic instructions. Thus, the Vedas give direction to civilized human beings to enable them to satisfy their propensities for sense gratification. In the Nivriti Marg, however, on the path of transcendental realization, sex is completely forbidden. Only in the household life can the Pravritti Marg be encouraged or accepted according to Vedic instructions. In the orders of Brahmachari, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, there are no facilities for sex. So basically, it's a path, but you're following the Vedas. You're going to make spiritual advancement. That's the actual way Pravritti Marg is supposed to be followed. So it is sense gratification, but according to the Vedas. So it's not
But from what you said, Pierre, it could be animalistic Pravritti Marg and Shastric driven Pravritti Marg, right?
No,
There
it's
can be
the
two kinds.
actual Pravritti Marg is the Shastric of according to the Vedic instructions, there are two paths for human activities. One is called Pravritti Marg and the other is called Nivritti Marg. The basic principle for either of these paths is religious life. In animal life, there is only Pravritti Marg. Pravritti Marg maintains, I skipped some of it though, Pravritti Marg maintains that even though one has a propensity for sense gratification, he can gratify his senses according to the directions of the Vedic example. Everyone has a propensity, okay. But it did, I probably didn't copy that part, but basically this is the actual meaning of Pravritti Marg, although people may just say Pravritti Marg is for sense gratification. Animals follow Pravritti Marg. Actually, that's not the real meaning of Pravritti Marg.
But if you're just doing eating, sleeping, mating, and defending without following any shastra, then basically you're following the animalistic Pravritti Marg, right?
You're not following what is really what Pravritti
Oh,
Marg.
what is really is Pravritti Marg. Okay, I got it now.
Yeah, I read that as well, Pyare Prabhu. And I understood what Gita Mala Mataji is saying. There are kind of degrees of, because in that purport that you read, it says animal life has only Pravritti Marg. Right? There's one sentence that says animal life has only Pravritti Marg, no Nivritti Marg. So I understood that as a grades, degrees, shades of Pravritti Marg. You could follow it as per the Vedic injunctions, where your sense gratification is controlled, but it's still path of sense gratification, or you could follow it madlessly, where without injunctions of the Shastras. But thanks for bringing that up. That was.
And Alarnath Prabhu, did you have a comment?
The same comments I was having, Mataji, now it's clear. Animals have no karmic reaction. They just do sense gratification. That Pyare Prabhu made it clear. Thank you.
And they naturally evolve.
Right.
Yes,
Whereas-
Mataji.
Whereas
Yeah.
when humans engage in the sense gratification, they are distracted. They can fall down. So there's a little difference.
Also, Prabhupada gave example of a clerk. If a clerk does good job, he is getting promoted. If he does bad job, he is getting demoted or fired. So if we are on Pravritti Marga, we have to follow Shastric injunctions. Otherwise, Lord Krishna said, Urdhvam gachanti sattostha, madhye tishtanti rajasa, jaganya guna vrittistha, adho gachanti tamasa. So if we are in the mode of ignorance and passion, mainly in the mode of ignorance, then we have to go downward. So to follow the Pravritti Marg, we have to follow Shastric injunctions. Otherwise, it will be animalistic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for making all that clear.
Okay, so I'll move on and try to wrap up quickly. So Parikshit Maharaj asked a question: how can the conditioned soul be saved from suffering in the hellish planets? And Sukadev Goswami answers his question in the following verses. And he basically says there are three ways, right? The first is karma kanda, which is atonement through fruitive actions. So he says, like, if you do a sinful reaction, or if you do a sinful action before death, you should atone for it. And Prabhupada gives an example that, if somebody commits a murder, then atonement for that is that the person should give up his own life in atonement. So that's one way of doing, but by proposing, so first Sukadev Goswami first answer to Parikshit Maharaj, he suggests karma kand. And in that way, he was also testing Parikshit Maharaj, because that answer is not complete or is not the real solution. And Parikshit Maharaj comes back and says, how would that be? Because, people are committing sins. We see that people committing sins, even though they have seen the atonement and they have heard about it and seen it and also gone through it, but still we see them committing sins. And then Sukadev Goswami said, yes, that is not a true solution, because it's still fruitive action, like a fruitive action to counteract the effects of another fruitive action. It's again kind of a loop, like it's not the real, because the seed of the desires for doing sinful reaction is still there. So the karma kanda will not help us in getting rid of that. Then Sukadev Goswami mentions the Jnana Kand, which is speculative knowledge. So, which is basically they have understanding between pious and impious actions, and they stay away from impious actions. But still, it's not, it doesn't remove the desires for committing the impious activities. But the real solution that Sukadev Goswami suggests is the path of bhakti, which is devotional service. And this is the Nivriti Marg, right? So a devotional path or devotional service is the path of liberation as in free from bondage of birth and death. And if anybody follows the path of bhakti, bhakti not just only removes the reactions of the prior impious activities, but even removes the desire or the seed in the heart, desire for doing impious activities. So it's basically, as we say, it cures from the root cause. So, like in cancer, you do chemo, you continue to do chemo until the last cell that can cause the cancer to come back again is removed. Similarly, bhakti, removes it completely. And Krishna says that the bhakti is like a fire that can consume any amount of impious activities that you throw in it, right? So that can destroy unlimited number of impious reactions of impious activities that you throw in it. That's the power. That's the kind of power of bhakti. Now we know bhakti, there are flavors of bhakti, right? And I put it here, but I'll make the key point. So the purest form of bhakti is Santata Bhakti, which is incessant flow of bhakti with faith and love. Whereas it is of two ways. So this is the incessant flow of bhakti, and on the other side, Kadachitki is, it's not an incessant flow, but sometimes awaken. And even in that, sometimes awaken, there is the last type of bhakti in that is basically Abhasha Rupa, a slight glimpse of devotional service. Now, Sukadev Goswami explains in following text that even if you have a slight glimpse of devotional service, even if you have a Abhasa Rupa bhakti, even that is enough to basically counteract the reactions of the impious activities, and also to remove the desire in the heart, or the seed in the heart that causes us to commit impious activities again and again. So I thought, when I read this, I thought this is like a lifeline of devotees, right? So knowing that all of us are on a different path or a different journey and at different stages, like it says, even if you have a slight glimpse of devotional service, that would address, and by addressing the desire to committing impious activities, which will then basically help us in a way to progress on the path of bhakti, and come to a higher level of bhakti. Now we didn't have much time, but I wanted to also, as we are talking about Pravriti Marg to Nivriti Marg, and how devotional service is critical for Nivriti, which is path of liberation. I wanted to make this point of Vaishnava's compassion, which I think came up at our beginning of our discussion as well. And in this verse, Parikshit Maharaj, this verse shows his compassion that is coming out for all the conditioned souls. Now, there are many other examples. We won't be able to go through all of them now, but Prahlad Maharaj, you know, he continued the path of bhakti even after so many obstructions. Like he had a choice. He could follow what his father wanted and he would be the king of the world, but not, he continued and he was saved by the Lord. And then his request to the Lord was, he asked liberation for his father, right? So that's a exhibition of compassion. Vasudev Dutt and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually Vasudev Dutt was like he would spend all his money on others out of compassion, and then and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appointed Shivanand Sen to take care of his finances because he was, out of compassion, he was just giving up all of it. Lord Nityananda, we know his preaching around, and his preaching at the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Nityananda did not preach for a longer period of time. Like he preached only after he received instruction from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Jagai Madhai, the instance of that, like who would go and preach such a people, but he did, which was again out of compassion for the conditioned souls, and also that would be an example for others to follow as well. And Srila Prabhupada, we've all heard so many stories about it, the compassion he had when he came here, which basically changed the hearts of so many people who were so foreign to the concept of Vedic studies and Vedic instructions, right? And then I was thinking, so these are the very exalted souls, and their exhibition of compassion is for everybody, not just who they know. And I was thinking, well, what is our compassion quotient, right? So where is compassion in our activities? We are also we've taken up the path of bhakti, and we're trying our best. And I thought, like, I put it out there as a introspective of compassion. And then an example came to my head, is the book distribution. I mean, preaching is one of the key exhibition of preaching is one of the key exhibition of compassion. And our book distribution efforts, we've seen, whether it's rain, shine, devotees go out, sacrificing so many of their other normal duties, householder duties, and they are out there able to sell one book. And they have to talk to so many people before they can sell one book. I mean, there is a exhibition of this compassion in being able to do that. I agree, there is also sense of duty and sense of commitment to be able to do that. When we go out, it's partly at the early stages, it's partly more of a sense of duty and a sense of commitment, and then also mixed with a sense of compassion. But then I kind of put it out there as a introspect for ourselves, as to how and where else we can exhibit the sense of compassion for people we know and people we don't know. So I'll stop here and see if anybody has questions, comments related to anything that we talked about.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you go to the previous slide, Prabhu? Can you go to the previous slide, Prabhu? So, Prabhu, here, the right-hand side, you are saying Raga Bhasha Shunya Swarupa Bhuta. So, is it mean that if one person has no spontaneous love for Krishna, but he likes to serve Krishna, is that the understanding, Prabhu? Or is it a wrong understanding?
I'll try, Prabhu, but I'm not the technical expert on it. So the way I understood this, like I feel like our situation, right? When we serve, we are serving out of that we understand that our constitutional position of is serving, and we likes to serve. Somehow it feels good. But is the love for Supreme Lord coming out when we are serving? Like I could say, like my service, most of the services, yes, I like doing it. It's good experience. And I also understand it's a must do for me, right? So that's That's how. So that's how I understood this. So it's not like, so it's not the purest form where, yeah, out of love a mother takes care of his child out of love, right? A mother thinks it is a duty for him, for her to take care, but also it's like there's more love in it. In our service, and sometimes when we serve, especially for me, it's more of a, yes, it's a nice experience, and I understand based on all I have heard through the association, that is our position to do. Does that make sense? Anybody else wants to comment or edit what I said?
Oh, that makes sense to me.
Tirthpath Prabhu, does it make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Very much.
Krishna Prabhu, this is Rasuras Das. So we are discussing about Prabhriti Marg and Nibriti Marg, right? So one question came into my mind. So like many times, I heard there is another marg called Pushti Marg. I mean, I know in India, there is this specific group in Gujarat. They say that they are following the Pushti Marg. So, I mean, may not be it's related here, but I just wanted to know if you have any idea on that.
Yes, all technical questions are directed to Ganpati Govind if he's
I was just going to say that.
So,
all right.
Ganpati Govind,
Question to Ganpati Govind Prabhu.
Is he still on the call?
Yes, Prabhu. Actually, my understanding about Pushti Marg is, so they are following the Kumara Sampradaya. So in that Sampradaya, they worship Lord Krishna in Vatsalya Bhav. So they basically consider Krishna as their child and they are the parents. So many Gujaratis, they will have the small Laddu Gopal in the small, swing, and then they offer different things and, give swing to the basically swing it. And actually in my home also, my bhabhi is from Gujarat. So that is the Pushti Marg actually, worshipping Lord Krishna in Vatsalya Bhav. That is actually Pushti Marg.
But does scriptures mention about Pushti Marg or no? Or it is?
Yeah, that is actually
Yes,
given by Acharya, missing the name of the Acharya.
Yeah, Vallabhacharya. Vallabhacharya is
Yes,
Pushpita.
thank you. Vallabhacharya actually has given that. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
It says, okay, let's see. There is a statement in the Narayana Vyuha Starva prayers that persons who are always engaged in thinking of the Lord as their husband, friend, father, or well-wisher are always worshipable by everyone. This spontaneous love for Krishna can be developed only by the special mercy of Krishna or his pure devotee. The process of devotional service is sometimes called Pushti Marg. Pushti means nourishing, and Marg means path. Such development of sentiment nourishes devotional service to the highest standard. Thus, it is called the path of nourishment or Pushti Marg. The Vallabha Sampradaya, which belongs to the Vishnu Swami sect of Vaishnava religion, worships Krishna in this Pushti Marg. Generally, devotees in Gujarat worship Bala Krishna under the heading of Pushti Marg. And this is from the Nectar of Devotion.
That's a full explanation.
Wait, but it says the Nectar of Devotion.
I wanted to comment on the word meaning of Pushti that Pyare Prabhu already did. There is a explanation of Pushti also comes in Bhagavatam, where it is explained that when we do bhakti, we get three things, like when we eat, we get satisfied and our hunger goes away, and we get pushti. So pushti, tushti, these words are there in Bhagavatam. So that's what I wanted to mention, but Pyare Prabhu already did. Thank you, Pyare Prabhu.
Okay, any other question, comment?
Yeah,
Hare
you were
Krishna
going to say
Prabhu.
something.
Sorry, Mataji, you want to continue? Can I ask one question?
No, Perry was going to say something more on that. Did you want to say something more, Perry?
I didn't know I was going to say something more.
Okay.
That was from Nectar of Devotion, Pyare Prabhu, what you quoted.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, like regarding that Nivritti Marga is also it's a part of a renunciation stage or something which is related to that. It means a renunciation, or that the Marga is only for renunciation.
Mataji, definition of Nivritti Marg is path of liberation, means getting out of the cycle of birth and death.
Yeah, it's a Jnana Marga, right? It is also a Jnana Marga where we we have to go through there. It mean like that for renunciation?
I'm not understanding your question, Mataji. Can you?
Yeah, like it is that it means that Nivritti Marga means it's a Jnana Marga where we will go for renunciation, like we have to achieve that renunciation. I didn't get that completely, so I was just asking it. It is a part of a Jnana Marga.
But even Gyan Marga doesn't get you out of the cycle of birth and death.
Okay.
So it has to culminate in bhakti, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
I hope, Mataji, it may be Nivritti of Pravritti, because Prabhupada explained what Pravritti we have. We have Pravritti. Pravritti means Pravritti means tendency. We have tendency of sense gratification.
Okay.
So we have tendency of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Nobody is teaching us these things.
Okay.
Prabhupada made it very clear. So we don't need to teach sense gratification in his school. That's what Prabhupada gave the example. So we don't need to teach on, get teaching on pravritti, what we have tendency for. And nivritti, I mean, I'm not sure if it is correct, but the meaning is getting rid of. So I hope it is getting rid of what tendencies we have for sense gratification.
Okay. Like example, if you take Sanata Kumaras, they are all in the Nivritti Marga, right?
Yes, yes.
That is it. Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Into
because they
the
completely renounced because they don't want
Grihastha
to
life,
engage. Yes. Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. Okay.
So from now on, when you sign off your name, you can put next to it whether Pravritti Marg or Nivritti Marg.
Also in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 6, it explains, right, the quality.
Prabhu, your voice is not clear. Can you closer to the?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Yes, in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 6, it's explained the qualities of Privritti Marg and Nivritti Marg. It explains the 10 qualities of Privritti Marg and 10 quality of Nivritti Marg. It's detailed explained the points. So if anyone interested, they can go through chapter 6, Nectar of Devotion.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, points? It's 9:26. Okay, so we'll end here. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Kalpatarabhyasya pasanabhya vichya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः.